protests and anthems. Yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind and question justify. When you and God in time are best aligned.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They can be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folks try to ignore us. So we at the ballot boxes to vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia who galvanize so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the presence of mind. Everything's more beautiful in time.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live in afternoon drive time right here in LA. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. All you got to do is type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand. Or if you're feeling fancy, just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Again, A More Perfect Union right here on KBLA, the only Black-owned and operated talk station west of the Mississippi. If you're on the 405, the 10, the 110, or wherever this Tuesday afternoon traffic has you trapped, you are exactly where you need to be, because we're about to make the most of every single minute of this drive time home. All right. And y'all, today is a busy day. It is primary day in America, June 2nd, 2026. 6 states just let the people speak. California, Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. Most of the fireworks are right here in California and out in Iowa. So let's break it down. Here in California, our governor's race is wide open for the first time in a long time. Gavin Newsom is term limited, and Lord, there are 61 candidates on the ballot. I got the evidence right here. This is my sample ballot right here. There you go. This is my sample ballot right here. So I can confirm there are 61 candidates on the ballot, and you need a program just to keep score. On the Democratic side, you've got Tom Steyer, Antonio Villaraigosa, Katie Porter, and Javier Becerra, who was supposed to land in the single digits and somehow flipped the script. And on the Republican side, you have Steve Hilton, the Fox News host, the one who got Trump's blessing, which in the state may or may not be a gift. And then there's the Los Angeles mayor's race. Sit down for this one. Karen Bass, the incumbent, is polling at 26%. City Council member Nithya Raman is at 25%. And Spencer Pratt, yes, that Spencer Pratt, the villain from The Hills, is sitting at 22% and threatening to make this a whole moment. This man lost his home in the Palisades fire, launched a campaign on the 1-year anniversary of the disaster, and now he's running neck and neck with established politicians in the second largest city in the country. Now, look, I'm not here to co-sign Spencer Pratt for mayor of Los Angeles, but I am here to ask a serious question. When a reality TV villain can poll in the top 3 in a major American city, what does that tell us about where voters are? What does that tell us about the crisis of institutional trust? Because we'll come back to the reality TV politics in the pipeline a little bit later. But over in Iowa, The Republican governor's primary is Trump's endorsement under the microscope. Make no mistake about it. 5 Republicans on the ballot. Representative Randy Feenstra is Trump's pick, but political newcomer Zach Lon has been quietly climbing. This is a state where Trump's approval has slipped because of the economy and because of the war in Iran. So we're going to watch Iowa very carefully tonight for what it signals about the strength of the Trump brand heading into November. Democrats in Iowa are choosing a Senate candidate, and they need to win this seat if they're going to have a shot at flipping the Senate. 4 seats, y'all. Democrats need 4 seats. Iowa is one of the places they absolutely have to compete. Now, let's talk about something that has the phrase, "what in the world?" written all over it. Today, on primary day, President Trump announced he's naming a new acting director of national intelligence. Now, who do you go to when you need someone to oversee 18 intelligence agencies, including the CIA and the NSA, while the country is literally at war with Iran? Do you go to someone with a security background, perhaps a career intelligence official, a decorated military figure? No. You go to your housing guy, Bill Pulte, the 38-year-old director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the man who oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, has been tapped as acting director of national intelligence. He's replacing Tulsi Gabbard, who announced her resignation effective June 30th. And here's what makes this the chef's kiss of absurdity. Pulte is going to keep his housing job at the same time. He's the director of national intelligence and the FHFA director at 38 with 0 intelligence experience. Trump's justification, and I quote, "William has deep experience managing the most sensitive matters in America, the safety and soundness of the markets, and over $10 trillion at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac." So let me get this straight. Managing mortgage-backed securities is now equivalent to managing the CIA. Got it. Even Trump allies were shaking their heads. One former Trump official said, quotes, "Building homes is very similar to managing a 17-agency U.S. intelligence community." I mean, is it though? Is it though? And before you think this is a one-off, let me just note that Marco Rubio is both the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. Sean Duffy was Transportation Secretary and acting NSA Administrator. Todd Blanche is the acting Attorney General and the acting Librarian of Congress. They are running the federal government like a one-person shop at a dollar store. Every employee is doing 4 jobs, and none of them, and I mean none of them, are qualified for any of them. Now, what is Pulte known for? He is known for using his position at FHFA to go after Trump's political enemies. He filed a criminal referral against Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Remember that? And he filed one against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Remember that too? He's been, as CNN put it, an unlikely political attack dog. And now that attack dog has the keys to the intelligence community. That's not governing. That's a loyalty purge with a security clearance. All right. And speaking of the reality TV to politics pipeline I mentioned earlier, let's go there, because it's not just Spencer Pratt in Los Angeles. We've got reality TV stars running for everything right now. NPR has been tracking this trend across California, Texas, Minnesota. And let me just say, candidates who built their names in front of the camera are now trying to build a constituency. And the question isn't whether they can win. Clearly they can. Donald Trump already answered that question in 2016. But the question is, why are voters reaching for entertainment figures when they feel like they've been failed by professional politicians? That question matters. And it doesn't have an easy answer, but we're going to keep asking it, because a more perfect union is about more than what's happening. It's about why. When we come forward, I have a guest who has spent years thinking deeply about democracy, about whose voice gets counted, and about what it means to fight for a multiracial future in America. Civil rights leader and movement organizer Linda Sarsour joins us right here on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to A More Perfect Union. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man. Hit me. National News, The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. While we wait for our guest to arrive, let me just share a little bit of breaking news. ABC News is reporting that Peabo Bryson, the singer behind Beauty and the Beast and more, has died at the age of 75. The legendary singer and songwriter Peabo Bryson has died at the age of 75. The Grammy Award winner, known for his hit songs and duets, including Beauty and the Beast, A Whole New World, and several R&B classics, died today, according to a statement from his family. This is a developing story, and we'll continue to track it, but our hearts go out to the family of Peabo Bryson, the fans of Peabo Bryson. I was a kid when Beauty and the Beast came out. I was a kid when, my parents were grooving to a lot of Peabo Bryson songs. And so sad to see that he has passed away at the age of 75. I now want to transition to our guest. I'm really delighted to welcome Linda Sarsour to A More Perfect Union. This is, let me just say this. I'm really glad to be joined by Linda because she's one of the most recognized civil rights activists and movement leaders in the country. Her work has centered multiracial democracy, civic participation, and social justice for years. And she's part of a remarkable coalition of voices that we are lifting up here on A More Perfect Union as we count down to the nation's 250th anniversary. Voices who are asking not just where we've been, but where we're going. Linda, welcome to A More Perfect Union. Welcome.
I can't hear you.
Oh, well, that's no good. We're going to work on that. While we work on that, let me just say that there are a lot of folks that are commemorating, celebrating, recognizing the 250th anniversary of America. And there are a lot of stories out there about who we are. And there are narratives and counter narratives out there. And we want to make sure that we're uplifting the voices, particularly of leaders on the front lines, to not just do a look back, but to do a look forward. You know, one of the things that I have said on air and off is that, you know, it seems to me that we need to shift our mindset from being more nostalgic to a more of a founder's mindset, because it seems to me that we are all a part of founding sort of a new America. We are all a part of developing some radical imagination as to who we still can be, even in the face of some pretty significant rollbacks of our rights, rollbacks of certain norms that maybe we took for granted. And I'm really looking forward to digging into this conversation with Linda as soon as she gives me the thumbs up that she can hear me. All right. She can hear me. Well, again, Linda, welcome to A More Perfect Union, and thank you for your work and your witness.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Linda, I want to start with the big question, because you've been organizing and fighting for justice for a long time. And as we approach the 250th anniversary of this country, America at 250, what does that milestone mean to you? And what does it mean for communities that have historically been left out of the founding narrative? Important questions that need answers and that have answers. We're having a little bit of a technical challenge connecting to Linda, but we are going to figure it out in due order, in due time. There's Linda right there. She's going to give me the thumbs up if she can hear me. All right. Linda, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. And I don't listen. Today is the technical difficulties day because that always happens, and that's cool. I think it's important to remind folks that there was going to be a 250th commemoration with or without us as a movement, and actually regardless of who was going to be president of the United States of America. I think it's important for us to intervene in this moment as a movement on this commemoration. I mean, there has been a lot that has happened in the last 250 years. A lot of stories that should be told that won't be told. A lot of communities that will be erased. And our job is to ensure that all people get to see their reflection in this last 250 years. And that also means not just the pain and suffering and trauma that many marginalized people have experienced, including Indigenous, Black folks, immigrants, and others, but also the triumphs and the victories. We come from many peoples that have sacrificed and have, because of the sacrifices they've made, we have come this far 250 years later. And I want to make sure that too is not taken away from the story of the 250 years that again is going to be commemorated with or without us, and we decided that we're going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you're part of this coalition that includes Next 250, Get Free Together, Youth 250, and partners from the Reparations Narrative Lab. Tell us about the coalition and the kind of work that y'all are doing to shape the next 250, not just celebrate some of the advances of the past 250, but let's talk about what you're doing to shape the next 250.
I think this coalition that you mentioned, Doctor, is a reflection of what we always have to do as a movement, and that is to coordinate, to collaborate, right, to leverage each other's resources, relationships, and to really come out in a powerful, united force. We found ourselves in a place where we all aligned. We all supported the principles and values. We aligned on principles and values. So we brought this coalition together. The Next 250 is the Washington, D.C. flagship event for All of Us 250, which is part of the Get Free movement. Reclamation Day is being led by an incredible coalition led by Youth 250 and Bliss Collective, friends of ours who are also a part of the Next 250. So it's just beautiful to see our movement coming together. And we've been organizing together, bringing our resources, our talents, our relationships. And I think we're going to have an incredible, commemoration. Again, you talked about this generation and about us just coming together in this moment. And I keep reminding people that we're the first generation in American history that has to tell a younger generation than us that they have less rights. That has never happened in American history, because even with all the pain and trauma and suffering of the last 250 years, there has been some sort of incremental progress, right? We have gained things like voting rights. We gained, things like reproductive health care and access to reproductive health care. We've seen wins in the Supreme Court. And now we're watching that all roll back on the watches of our generation. So I think for us, this commemoration is about the Next 250. What are we declaring? What are we committing to? And how are we walking into the next 250 years? I think we're coming here with an intention to make sure people that understand that our generation is also determined. We are committed. We understand the reality that we're in, and we're still willing to continue the fights that we've been on.
Linda, today is primary day here in California and a number of states across the country. And there's a very real anxiety in a lot of communities about what democracy even looks like right now. You've been doing civic participation work for years. What do you say to people who are feeling like their vote doesn't matter, or like the system has already decided the outcome? Some of which who might be listening to us right now while there are several hours left until when the polls close.
That's right. I'm also, as you can see behind me, this is Princeton University. I'm actually in New Jersey because there is also a primary election day here in New Jersey. So we're all outside. I tell people all the time, never allow anyone to tell you that your vote doesn't matter, that your participation in democracy doesn't matter. Because if it didn't matter, then there wouldn't be people that wake up every single day trying to figure out how to strip voting rights away from Black folks, from poor folks, from marginalized people all across this country. They know it matters. And that is why every day that they're pushing these gerrymandered maps, that's why they are pushing voter suppression legislation, not only across the country, but also trying to pass it on a federal level. So my resistance to that is that I'm going to the polls and remembering that when you're going to the polls, this is not about personalities. This is not about who you like. This is not about who you're going to, go to dinner with, right? This is about voting for two things. Either you're voting for candidates that align with your values and principles, and oftentimes those people are from our communities and they are on the ballot. That's number one. Or harm reduction, right? I go to the polls. I don't vote for myself. I vote for the most harmed and marginalized people in my community, in the communities that I grew up in. So I understand that if my vote can be harm mitigation, that it could be harm reduction, that is worth it. If one less person getting kidnapped by ICE, one less person getting shot by the cops, one less person in my community getting evicted, that for me is worth my vote, even if the people that are running are not 100% aligned with my values and principles.
Yeah, that harm reduction piece is critically important. And one of the things I've been saying to folks is that it's quite possible that with all of the funny business that's taking place at the hands of Republican-controlled state legislatures who are redrawing the maps in favor of Republican candidates, my sense is that they're going to overplay their hand, and MAGA candidates may not be as competitive as blue dog Democrats. Talk to us about if, in fact, 2026 yields sort of the largest class of blue dog Democrats that we have seen in a long time. How does that impact sort of the agenda and the work of progressives, or how should it impact the work and the agenda of progressives across the country?
This is a complex conversation to have, Doctor, because I don't want to be one of those people that says vote blue no matter who, because I do actually think it matters who. In fact, we've watched in New Jersey, Governor Sherrill, when it comes to what's happening at Delaney Hall, which is a detention center where protesters are being attacked, where there are hunger strikers that are being punished inside the detention center, and her lackluster response on Delaney Hall. We watched Spanberger in Virginia, who's a Democratic governor there, who literally turned her back on union workers and on and bargaining and supporting union contracts. So, but I also want to say that sometimes we have a problem as progressives where we sometimes see a class of people running, and the person that we know will be the best for our community is someone we say, oh, they don't have a shot. I don't think this person can actually win. Of course they can. If you support them, if you mobilize, if you organize, if you talk to people at the doors, if you introduce them to folks, if you do the actual groundwork that is consistent between elections, anybody can win. If Donald Trump could be the president of the United States of America, then yes, I can elect a young, progressive Black woman in probably any city in America if we really did the work and really focused our energies where they belong. Oftentimes, we don't believe in ourselves, and we end up succumbing these races or conceding these races to mainstream Democrats who don't always align with us on every issue. But at the end of the day, if I had a choice in some races where I know someone supports healthcare, where someone supports union organizing, where someone supports workers, where someone supports immigrants, even if I may not agree with them on other issues, I may then engage in a harm reduction vote so that I can keep people who are exclusionary, who are working against all of those different communities I mentioned out of office. So sometimes you just people have to come to the table with what I believe to be a solidarity vote. My vote is a solidarity vote. I have some of us have the privilege of not voting or voting whatever way we want and not really having to feel much of the consequences that the most poor working class people in this country have to endure. So I always go to the polls with other people on my heart, with my family on my mind, with my neighbors on my mind.
When we come forward, I want to pick up that thread and want to lean into your viewpoint on the state of our solidarity politics. When we come forward, we'll also talk about some of the developments in these congressional races that are turning heads across the country. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Linda Sarsour.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nee Cortelai-Corte on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Mamdani is not ruling out screen time limits for students in school.
I'm looking forward to considering any additional suggestions there are.
It comes as Governor Kathy Hochul proposes limiting laptop and iPad use for elementary students during class. Community groups in Dayton, Ohio are calling for unity after a violent weekend left one person dead and others hurt in several shootings. Dayton's NAACP president wants the city to expand its violence interruption program, while Racial Justice Now says gun violence should be treated as a public health crisis. And star sprinter Clara Adams, who is Black, is suing the California Interscholastic Federation after being stripped of her gold medal last year. Adams won the 400-meter state final at 16, but was disqualified for briefly spraying her shoes with a fire extinguisher during her celebration. The move drew protests from the NAACP. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry said Monday's trade that sent Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the Rams would not have happened unless the Rams included linebacker Jared Verse in the deal. Verse made the Pro Bowl in his first 2 seasons with the Rams. Last season, Verse led the Rams in sacks with 7.5 and was second on the team in tackles for a loss. After selecting Victor Wembanyama with the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs have been on a steady rise up the charts. In Wembanyama's rookie season, the Spurs were 22-60 and lost 18 straight games. In year 2, the Spurs were 34-48. This season, the Spurs finished 62-20, second best record in the NBA behind Oklahoma City. This surge has taken the Spurs all the way to the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is Wednesday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhood safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by Re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California, 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and really delighted to be in conversation with Linda Sarsour. Linda is not new to this. She's true to this. She has been a movement leader for some time. When I think of the Women's March, when I think of some of the work related to the No Kings protests, among so many others, I know that she stands shoulder to shoulder with so many incredible leaders on the front lines. For the folks out there that are saying, hey, where's the next generation of leaders? Where they at? Linda, raise your hand and tell them that you're in New Jersey today. But you'll be wherever they need you to be.
Listen, which might hopefully help us get to a more perfect union today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so one of the things that you brought up before the break, you were talking about sort of solidarity. And I just came back from spending a week on the ground in Cuba, bearing witness to this American-made humanitarian crisis. Make no mistake about it. And we met with a number of government officials, but we also met with civil society folks and real people on the ground to get as balanced of a sense as we can as to what's going on. And one of the lingering thoughts I've had since coming back from Cuba is around our solidarity politics. And one of the questions I've been asking of a lot of leaders like yourself is, what is the state of our solidarity politics, and what kind of solidarity politic are we going to need in order to champion the issues that matter most the next 250 years?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things is that there are moments where our movement has played what we call Olympics or oppression Olympics, right? Who's hurt more? And I think sometimes we have to understand that there are times where I'm going to go outside, doctor, where it's not about me. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not the one directly impacted by the issue. It doesn't affect me in any way. And my solidarity is not conditional, right? It's like, I want to show up for you because you deserve for me to show up for you, because you deserve my fight, not because I also expect you to come fight for me. And I think oftentimes our movements have been transactional. We haven't built those deep relationships. I remember the big conversation during 2024, where a lot of people were talking about the election. And there were a lot of people in our country who were people who were connected to folks that they had lost during a genocide in Gaza. I mean, we watched our families get slaughtered, like literally, like they were worthless, like the little babies meant nothing to anybody in the world. And on top of that, it was my taxpayer dollars that were paying for the slaughter of my own people. And there were many in our movements who said, well, you got to put that to the side because now we have an election to win. And it was hard. How do you say to someone, how do I go knock on the doors of Palestinian Americans and Arab Americans and tell them, put the slaughter of children to the side that you paid for with your taxpayer dollars, and let's go vote for a party that is literally supporting the very regime that is actually slaughtering our family members. This is not a hypothetical or theoretical. We watch the bloodshed on our phones 24 hours a day. So I tell people all the time that solidarity is also about understanding. It's about being able to hear people's stories, listen deeply to people's pain and trauma. And then you may understand why people are making the types of decisions that we may not agree with. When I think about this upcoming election, I always say to people, how is it possible that we want to save our democracy with the very leaders who are supporting an apartheid regime with our taxpayer dollars across the world? If you can't say genocide, if you can't look at the mass slaughter of people and call it a genocide, then how are you going to fight for my health care? How are you going to fight for good public education? How are you going to fight for access for transportation and for good jobs? I don't believe that. I believe that the basic humanity that people demonstrate in politics are the exact people that we need to send. If you can see a Palestinian child all the way in Palestine, or see a child in Cuba and say those children deserve food, they deserve access to high quality health care, the children of Palestine deserve to be free and play on their beaches without worrying about American bombs dropping on them, that's the leadership that we need. And guess what? We will all benefit from that leadership. Anyone who's good on an issue like Palestine and believes that the Palestinian people deserve freedom, deserve self-determination, guess what? They're also good on healthcare. They're also good on public education. They're good on immigration and immigrant rights. They're good on all progressive issues. So this is not because we want people, for example, to only care about this, quote, one issue. This one issue is intersectional in the sense that if we have money for wars, we spend close to $2 billion a day on a war with Iran. You know what we could do with $2 billion a day in Chicago, $2 billion a day in New York City, imagine what you could do with $2 billion a day in Birmingham, Alabama. So I want people to understand that solidarity is about understanding people's grief, helping people to see that you understand their pain, and then wanting to work together to build enough power so that we can stop the atrocities that are happening abroad, but also what's happening here in our own country. And I always say to people, I think solidarity is me fighting for you when you're not in the room. I want someone to fight for me when I'm not there, and to invoke my people's name when they are not in the room, because oftentimes some of us are not in the rooms. So we can't even fight and advocate for ourselves, but we need our people, our movement leaders to say, These people are not here, but I'm going to speak up for them because they are not in this room. So solidarity for me is a verb. It's not a noun. It's like if solidarity doesn't have action, if you're not willing to risk something for your solidarity, then it's not real solidarity. And I think our movements at points, we have struggled with real solidarity, with true, deep, genuine solidarity. Lastly, I'll tell you, in 2020 during COVID, as you remember, it was the horrific murder of George Floyd. But before there was a George Floyd, there was a Breonna Taylor in March of 2020, and a lot of my colleagues and I, as you know, we got up from New York City and we moved to Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't know Breonna Taylor. I never met the young woman. I knew an injustice happened, and I was not about to let this country just act like a Black woman did not just get shot and killed in the privacy of her own home and just let that slide. I didn't go to Louisville, Kentucky expecting anyone from Louisville to stand up for Palestinians. I never put a condition on the table and said, I only will come if you make these, declarations. But you know what happened, Doctor? During genocide, this was 2000. Genocide was 2023, 2024. The people of Louisville would send me photos of themselves organizing protests against genocide because they remembered the solidarity of Palestinians who came to Louisville, Kentucky to fight for Breonna, to stand shoulder to shoulder, to get tear gassed by the Louisville Metro Police Department, to get arrested and get felons. I got a felony charge in Louisville, Kentucky fighting for Breonna. And I was proud of that. And I wanted to do that. And so again, solidarity is not transactional. It's deep. It allows you to learn about people's story. It's about you asking me, why are you here? What interest do you have to be here to stand, for example, for a Breonna Taylor? And for me to say it's my most basic part of my humanity that tells me that being here is the right thing to do.
Linda, I want to bring up a story that I think perfectly illustrates what you've been talking about. Dr. Adam Hamaway. He's an Army doctor who served in Gaza. He came back home and now leading a New Jersey congressional race. You know a little bit about this, being that you're in New Jersey right now. The Guardian has been covering the story. When you see someone like that, a doctor, a veteran, a person who's shaped by that experience, stepping into the electoral arena, what does that signal to you about who's deciding to fight for change and how?
Dr. Adam Hamaway has probably one of the best resumes I've ever seen. When he was a resident doctor, he was one of the first people to run down to the Twin Towers. He was a 9/11 responder as a young resident doctor to save people's lives. As you said, he was an Army surgeon. So he was someone who not only was serving soldiers, but he was serving, enemy combatants. He was serving Iraqi civilians. He didn't ask people what their religion was. He didn't ask them what side they were on. He's a doctor to save lives, all lives of people. He's also been on missions to Bosnia, to African countries, to Gaza. And during the most recent genocide, when he was in Gaza, he got stuck in Gaza and they wouldn't even allow some of these foreign doctors to come out. And at one point they came to him and said, oh, you got approval, time for you to go. And he said, no, I'm not leaving my colleagues in here. I'm gonna go right back into this hospital knowing that I could probably get bombed and killed, but I'm not leaving till my colleagues also get approval. This is a man who has risked his life to save people's lives. He understands the faults of healthcare at a fundamental level as a doctor in the United States. He's seen people that would not be able to get care in this country, die in this country, because they couldn't have something as basic as healthcare in the richest nation on earth. He is someone who understands the plight of Muslims in America, right? He understands what's happening in places like Gaza because he went there. He operated on people who didn't have limbs. Like he saw the impact of US bombs on the bodies of human beings in Gaza. So why wouldn't we want a leader like him? Why would we want someone who's going to fight for healthcare, who's going to fight to stop weapons to countries like apartheid Israel? This is the actual kind of leader. And one of the most important things about him, he's not a politician. People might say, oh, look at Dr. Hamaway. You got these politicians out here with the charisma. They got that mic in their hand. This is a guy who never wanted to be a politician, and in fact is the same reason why we want him to go to Congress, because he is not a typical politician. He's a public servant, and he has served us for the last almost 27 years in different ways, and I hope that the people of New Jersey choose him to serve them in Congress today on this New Jersey primary day.
Linda, in our remaining moments with you, I want to ask you about Secretary Mullen of the Department of Homeland Security. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see this today, but Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, of Oklahoma, who's now the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, was in a hearing today, and he was asked a very simple question, very important question, I would say. will he commit to following court orders when it comes to the Department of Homeland Security? Well, he refused to answer. Not no, not yes. He refused to commit. And when asked whether he would follow the law, the courts, the constitutional order, and, that has sat with me. It might be sitting with you now that he is the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. Talk to us about what's keeping you up late at night when it comes to not just the way that ICE has been operating without restraint, but the Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. What's keeping you up late at night related to DHS?
DHS, as you know, Department of Homeland Security was created back in 2003, and that's how ICE was born. And that's why when people say abolish ICE, why not? I mean, it's only been around since 2003. We lived in a world in this country where there was no ICE. And what's very important, what keeps me up at night, is the Department of Homeland Security is basically the agency that has basically all of the national law enforcement agencies are under the Department of Homeland Security. So DHS is not just ICE, it's CBP. It's also the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. So when you have the big boss saying that he's not going to either commit to or not commit to following court orders, that is something that should really shake Americans all across the country. That basically says to him that he's not committing to following the Constitution, that he's willing to allow the agencies that are under his purview to basically violate the civil rights of Americans, which they already have been doing. As you know, ICE has kidnapped Americans and giving them sometimes a couple of days later till they figure out they're American citizens and kind of let them free. They are picking up people without warrants, right? They are indicting what they call to be like political enemies, right? They are opening investigations on nonprofit organizations that are potentially what they call anti-government, or they gave them this kind of list. So they are rogue. That's really what it is. And they are engaging in authoritarian fascist practices. And if you're not worried about that, you should be, because it starts with someone else. And then at some point it comes to our doorsteps. And we've seen this before in many other movement times, with COINTELPRO and the targeting of groups like the Black Panthers and many other groups at the time, civil liberties groups, even people like Dr. King. So we're just reliving a cycle, except with this particular administration, it's so overt. It's so in your face. They are not ashamed of being rogue agencies. You have ICE literally running around like they're the Gestapo in our communities. And it's been very hard for us to stop them in some of the cities. And I'm grateful to live in a city like New York, where we do have some safeguards against coordination with ICE. But as you know, sometimes even those safeguards are not able to kind of grain them in.
How can people tap into some of the work that you're leading with Next 250?
Just go to www.next250.us. We hope to see you in Washington, D.C. on June 27th at 11 a.m. And you can keep getting updates and information from www.next250.us.
Our thanks to Linda Sarsour for joining us here. Please come back again soon.
Thank you so much.
When we come forward, SoFi Stadium, the World Cup, and the workers who are asking some very important questions about who gets to profit and who gets protected. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, Linda.
New York Knicks. Go New York Knicks.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Don't wait until election day to vote. You have several easy, convenient options to make your voice heard. Vote early at any of the official ballot drop boxes or vote in person. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhoods safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California, 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
LADWP customers get rebates up to $1,500 when you install a qualified electric vehicle charger at your home. It's like having a gas station in your garage. Get extra savings when you combine LADWP rebates with federal tax credits on chargers installed before June 30th. Visit ladwp.com/EV today and start saving. That's ladwp.com/EV.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and it's about that time, folks. Time for what? Time for the quiet part out loud. Now, listen, the World Cup is coming to Los Angeles, June 12th, I believe, at SoFi Stadium right here, around the corner in Inglewood. The U.S. takes on Paraguay in the opener, and 70,000 fans. 70,000 fans will be there to witness it. The whole world, in fact, will be watching, and it should be one of the most electric moments this city has had in years. But the 2,000 plus workers who are going to make that experience possible, guess what? They don't have a contract. The cooks, the dishwashers, the concession workers, the bartenders, the servers, every person who's going to put a hot dog in your hand or pour you a beer at the World Cup, they've been working without a contract for a year. And Unite Here Local 11, their union, has broken off negotiations with Legends Global, that's the stadium's food service operator, because they say the company is not taking their concerns seriously. So, starting today, those workers, they're voting on whether to authorize a strike. The vote runs through Thursday and Friday, and if they authorize it, the 70,000 fans showing up for the June 12th opener could be walking into a very different stadium than they imagine. Their demands? Fair wages, protection against subcontracting and job loss through automation. And here's the one that really tells you everything about where we are right now. They want to guarantee that ICE agents will not be allowed on venue grounds during the World Cup. Let me say that again. Stadium workers in 2026 are asking their employer in FIFA to protect them from immigration enforcement while they serve hot dogs and pour drinks at a sporting event, because that's the world that we're living in. That's the fear that workers go to work with every single day. FIFA takes control of all 16 World Cup stadiums during the tournament, including operations and concessions. So they have significant leverage here, even if they're not technically a part of the labor dispute. And as one labor analyst put it, this is a poker game the union is almost certain to win. Because with a week until kickoff and the whole world watching, nobody wants to explain to an international audience why the hospitality workers walked out. But here's what I want to say to our audience, to all of our leaders, learners, and listeners out there. Don't lose sight of the workers in this story. They are not a backdrop. They are not an inconvenience. They are the people who make the World Cup experience possible. And they deserve a contract. They deserve fair pay, and they deserve to go to work without fear. That's the story. Pay attention to it. When we come forward, we've got AI safety, the anti-weaponization fund just scrapped, Vanilla Ice saying he'll play for Putin. We got all that. And I've got Dr. Jonathan Collins of Columbia University and Desiree Cormier Smith from the Alliance for Diplomacy and Justice joining us here on the airwaves. Don't you go anywhere. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. And we're in afternoon drive time, baby. Stay right there.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Mamdani is not ruling out screen time limits for students in school.
I'm looking forward to considering any additional suggestions there are.
It comes as Governor Kathy Hochul proposes limiting laptop and iPad use for elementary students during class. Community groups in Dayton, Ohio are calling for unity after a violent weekend left one person dead and others hurt in several shootings. Dayton